from downtown Mill Bay. Pull this out. Oop, don't need that, need this. Now, just as a review from last day, let's use Class Dojo, and I'm going to ask you, which one of these is not ethics? Chloe. Hi. If you were to pick one of those, which one of those would you say is not ethics? Emotivism. Not ethics. The reason I'm reviewing this from our last day's notes is because it is a little confusing that the word ethics is in things that aren't ethics, but we're discussing meta-ethics. So we're discussing 3 areas, and then we pinpoint one and say these aren't really ethics. People use them like ethics, but we don't consider them ethics as in the prime minister would be wrong if he made decisions about thousands of people using emotivism. I feel it's true, therefore it is. Doesn't seem like a good kind of way to run a policy. Or if your doctor was like, curing you doesn't really make me happy, so I'm not going to do that today. Pardon? Well, I don't know. Maybe you're not paying him enough money. Why would the doctor? Well, that would presume that all doctors go into medicine in order to help their patients. There's lots of technical reasons for becoming a doctor, one of which is just that you like puzzles. Peer pressure. Oh, actually, peer pressure, possibly. What's that pressure? Family pressure. You are becoming a doctor or a lawyer is something I know some students have heard. Jonathan, what else up there is not ethics? Ethical relativism. Not ethics. Although I know some of you have defended it. Ethical relativism we're not going to use for ethics because that just means like it's wrong for me, but it's not wrong for you. And that's true. If you believe that, that means you think that's true of everything. So like you're essentially saying, genocide isn't for me, but if you commit it, that's okay. To each their own. I might try to stop you because, as you have said, I don't believe in it. But I also understand that that's just my own personal point of view. Of course, the last one that's left, ethical objectivism. Make one more attempt to have you see ethical objectivism, but at the end of the day, this is the one we're going to use because it's also the only one we can prove. Objectivism means an external standard. And if there are 2 people that need a kidney, and only one person's going to need the kidney, it would seem unfair to say, well, I like this person better, so the kidney goes to them. That would cause responses like the monkey throwing the cucumber at the researcher. We feel that inherent unfairness. But if he said, you both have equal needs, so it's first come, first served, they were in the system first, then we go, well, that sucks, but you can explain that. So a little bit of review down here. Emotive means that you believe that everything is essentially like flavors of ice cream or which TV show is best. Game of Thrones last season was the best season ever. How many of you saw Game of Thrones? Only one person. Never mind. Yeah, literally everyone hated the last season. And it was fine. It's just that they switched their storytelling modes. Most drama is a psychological story about people. Game of Thrones was a sociological story about institutions. That's why people died all the time in the beginning, because it was about the institution, not the characters. And then later on, when they switched and they ran out of writing from the original author, they turned it into a psychological storytelling, which is not what people wanted. But whether or not it's good is, for ethical emotivism, is, I didn't like it, I did like it. Genocide is okay, genocide isn't. You'd be saying the same thing. It doesn't have a rational basis. You can just not like things. And it's fine just not. I just don't like broccoli. I'm not a bad person because I don't like broccoli, despite what my mom told me when I was growing up. You nodded. Am I a bad person because I don't like broccoli? Oh, okay. Oh, you're agreeing with me. Oh. I saw a little shake there, and I thought that, maybe I am. I think it was this class I learned that broccoli pizza is a real thing. Ethical relativism does have a rational basis, but you can say from our point of view, from our culture and our religion and our particular agreement, and then you can't really have disagreement, because you can say, well, in my culture it's this way for this reasons, and I go, aha, but in my culture it's this way for these reasons. And in the end, they sort of defeat each other, because you can never have a true disagreement and prove each other wrong. You're just from each other's points of view. These are comforting. They're fairly appealing. They're very tolerant, and tolerant is not a bad thing. But they're also intolerant of intolerance. There is an article that was written about the problems with the liberal society on the tolerance of intolerance. And it did propose that if you have a society that is so tolerant that it is tolerant of intolerance, the society will eventually defeat itself. Because the intolerant will grow in number until there are a sufficient number of them. And because they are intolerant, they will change the laws until the society is no longer tolerant. And so to maintain a free society, you must not be tolerant of intolerance itself. It does confuse what is with what should be. If you say, in my culture, I think genocide is correct, that seems like that shouldn't matter. My people have been going around colonizing all over the place. I have a proud heritage. Seems like a very wrong thing to say. Just because your culture has done things doesn't make them right. And our belief that they're right doesn't make them right. If ethics is to have any meaning at all. And there's sometimes the idea, if we just all agreed on the same thing, I see this most often with people, like, if we just got rid of the people who don't agree with us, then everything would be fine. That doesn't necessarily mean that everything would be fine. There was a group of people that tried to all agree that pi, the mathematical constant, equaled exactly 3.14. And they were ready to enact a law in their county to that effect, so that they didn't have to teach irrational numbers in school. Irrational numbers? Well, in that county, you may have had a little easier time in math. However, it did show us, that little example did show us democracy sufficiently working as intended. When it came up, the majority of county members were in favor of it, but someone objected and said it seemed a little suspicious. So they put it into committee. And in the committee, it promptly died because nobody wanted to do any work. So it ultimately was never passed into a law because it died out because nobody did any work to get it in there. Part of the good parts of committees is that they don't get things done. We once believed as a society lots of different things. And we could have all believed the same thing. We're still wrong. The idea of objective ethics is that we could all believe that slavery is correct. We would still be wrong. We just haven't discovered yet. In the same way that we haven't discovered certain mathematical concepts yet, or in the past how they hadn't discovered yet that phlogiston didn't exist. Witches couldn't really turn into cats. Yeah. Part of the ether. Yeah. What? I thought it ended at 12. Oh. How terrible. Okay. Oh, good. Then we're watching a show next day. We're going to review a little bit of subjective, objective, and relativism after that. And I'm going to keep hitting that point home before we start into anything else. And look at points of view. And then we're going to start looking at the different types of ethics. Now, we're done chapter 1, which means you have a little quiz on the chapter coming up. I wasn't going to set it just before leave, but I'll set it after we return as a heads up as well. Enjoy your next class.